Okay, now we can begin our class. Right, today's lecture or talk number 8, and this is on the path of practice. In other words, the aim of this study is to understand the Noble Eightfold Path in some detail, so that we can practice it. That we are practicing Buddhists, and hopefully at the end of this series, you will be inspired to aspire to attain the path in this life itself, to gain stream winning. That is what the Eightfold Path is about, so that we attain the path in this life. Otherwise, we'll be reborn into the subhuman planes, the lower planes, be reborn as animals, as pretas, as hell beings, and so on. So that wouldn't be very good. We have done a lot of good karma, and here we are reborn as human beings. We're able to think, able to learn. The most important thing is the ability to learn. So Eightfold Path is about learning, the path of learning. We learn how to refine and calm our body and speech, and then that builds up to help us train our minds, and then from there we gain wisdom, which frees us from suffering. So that's this is called the threefold training in moral virtue, sila sikha, training in our mental cultivation or the mind or meditation, samadhi sikha, and the training in wisdom, panya sikha. Now, today in lecture 8, we're going to look at right livelihood. Right livelihood as a mundane factor in our daily life. So here you can see this is based on volume ST 1016, and this is from 5.1.2.1, in case you want to read more details. Yeah. So I've just mentioned the 3 trainings. It's like a pyramid. Okay. So at the bottom of the pyramid, you see moral virtue. Moral virtue, sila. Okay. Refers to our body and speech. This is the basic aspect of our being. When we keep the precepts, we are the first 3 precepts, we are refining, protecting our body. And then the 4th precept is our speech. And the 5th precept is our mind, right? Not to get drunk and so on. So basically, these are the 5 precepts which we have talked about early in our study, right? So this is called moral training, or training in moral virtue, sila sikha. And then based on this, when you keep your precepts well, you can meditate better, right? You don't drink, you don't worry about the precepts, you try your best. If you think you've broken some precepts at some time, don't worry about that. Remember, when you join this class for 2 hours, you are happily keeping the precepts. Remember that, and then go into your practice of the 2nd stage, training in concentration. Focus your mind, concentrate your mind. That's called samadhi. Samadhi sikha. Focus your mind. Here, samadhi has a broad meaning of meditation. It also has a narrow meaning of concentration. Okay. There are other deeper meanings which we'll go into later on in this series. So notice the pyramid. You have moral training, and then you have mental training. Both of these support helping us to grow our wisdom. The training in wisdom, panya sikha. Notice in panya, there's nya, danya, meaning knowledge, to know, and then pa gives a kind of emphasis to the word panya. This is the kind of wisdom that it's sometimes called insight, where we look into things, into the reality of things. We look within ourselves to find out who we really are, to know ourselves. When we know ourselves better, we also know others. So this wisdom frees us from suffering. This wisdom frees us from having wrong views, wrong understanding, which causes us suffering. So this is a quick summary of the 3 trainings. They're not actually 3 levels, they interact. You know, as you become better, let's say you are happy with your precepts, then your meditation is better. Your meditation is better, then your wisdom is better. When your wisdom is better, then your moral virtue becomes even more beautiful, then your meditation gets more beautiful, like that. So it helps each other, okay? The 3 stages help each other. So when we look at moral training, we have right speech, right action, right livelihood. There you are. So our topic here is the third factor in moral training, right? So in other words, moral training trains the body and speech. So the number one is speech, and then number two is action. So here in the path teaching, speech comes first, communication comes first, then the body. We also can communicate with the body language, for example. And then now we're talking about right livelihood. So in the next, for the rest of the time, we're going to look into this topic. Then in the second training, there is right effort, meaning how to basically problem solving, doing the right thing so that our minds will be calm and clear, and then goes on into deep meditation. Okay, so this is the second level. And the third level, of course, right view arises. We begin to understand things better in life. We don't need to depend on outside things. We look within ourselves, self-reliance, and when we grow better, happier that way. And then our intentions become purer, become clearer, and that makes us happy and good. Okay, so that's the three trainings. So when we talk about right livelihood, the Pali is Samma Ajiva. Samma means right, and it also means the top, like like summa in Latin. The word summit, summit is the top of the hill. Okay, Ajiva means livelihood, right? Jiva means life, because Ajiva with the prefix A here means what you do to keep yourself alive. Okay, and here let's look at the three basic aspects of human society. We're not just talking about livelihood. We're not just talking about Buddhism. We're talking about human society. So when we talk about livelihood, it's part of human society. So first of all, the first key thing about human society is that it is social. People get together, right? And then you need leaders. Without leaders, there'll be no society, right? So there is this focus of power, our leaders. So there is the political aspect. And then most importantly, the one and two combined gives us this economic base, right? In other words, economic here means beginning with how you keep your home in order. You have enough to eat, a safe place to live in, and to play in, to work in. You're happy at home. Okay, so it starts there, and then this goodness, this happiness spreads outwards to the whole country. So the whole country becomes economically wholesome and progressive. So now let's look at the social aspect. In ancient India, it is not like today, see, because in ancient India, Buddha's time, the Brahmins, the priests were very powerful. All right, it's just like in some country today, you find religion can be very powerful, and it defines the life of so many people. So this ancient Brahmanical system is determined by status, very much like ancient China, where you're born into a rich family, you're lucky. If you're serving the king, you're lucky. That kind of idea. But the Buddha spoke against this. The Buddha said, no, you're not born pure. It's by your actions you're pure. It's by your actions you are not pure. So even the highest caste, even the most powerful people are also subject to karma. So this is what the Buddha was against. The Buddha teach kind of social freedom in terms of the social aspect of human life. So you can see the Buddha rejecting all this class and caste system in at least three famous suttas: the Aganya Sutta, D27, where the Buddha gives a long story right from the beginning of the universe until the present moment. Then the Tevijja Sutta, where the Buddha talks about the three knowledges instead of the three holy texts of the Brahmins. The Buddha said, well, the Arahats have three knowledges of their own, which frees them from suffering. And this is in D13. And then there is the Vaseta Sutta, where the Buddha spoke against caste system. It says you're not born pure or impure. It's by your actions you're pure or impure. So this is M98. Now, in terms of the political system of India, you find about some decades ago, the outcasts, they were led by someone called Bhimrao Ambedkar. 1891 to 1956. He was an outcast man himself, but he educated himself and he rose to become a minister in the Indian government. And he did a lot of changes to the constitution and also helped to raise the status of the Dalits or the outcasts. And then, so today you find millions of Dalits are Buddhists. They give up Hinduism and say, we don't want to be Hindus, we don't want to be caste, we don't want to be outcasts. We are now free, we are Buddhists. But of course, they still face difficulties because there are still very powerful Brahmins who still look down on them, but at least they have some idea on how to be happy and free, right? And many of them are also members in our group here on Facebook, more of them, okay? And economically, of course, we have to come to the point of our class today, that is right livelihood, which we'll talk more about in due course. So the three aspects, society are the social, the political, and the economic. They're all closely connected. How we interact, how we select our leaders, how we live, the kind of food we take, the kind of rest we have, the kind of interaction and rest that we have with others. So basically, we are social beings. We interact with one another. We're not loners. That's why we keep the precepts, by the way. We need precepts so that a good society is possible. We don't kill, we don't steal, we don't commit adultery and rape, no lying, no drunkenness. That makes society a good society, a safe society. All right, that's what the precepts are about. There are other people. So that's the bottom of the pyramid. Then meditation is when you're alone by yourself. You sit, you close your eyes, right? You can do that when you keep your precepts well. So that's how you can see the connection there, right? So we are social beings. We are what we do, right? So we can do bad things, we can do good things. The precepts teaching us to do good things. And then there is how we work. That's what we're going to talk about today. All right. So right livelihood, in other words, is the basis for personal development. How we grow as a person. We need to work, we need food, we need a house, we need clothes, and so on. Okay. So we need this basis for personal development, personal happiness. And as you remember at the start, the moral training comprises right speech, right action, right livelihood. Now, so these are all still worldly aspects of right livelihood, things that we practice in daily life. So in this sutta, Magga Vibhanga Sutta, Magga means path, Vibhanga analysis, the path analysis sutta, S45.8, the Buddha says, what is right livelihood? Okay, the Buddha gives a very simple definition here. He says, here, bhikshus, here, monks, a noble disciple, having abandoned wrong livelihood, supports himself through right livelihood. Now, the Buddha doesn't mention much here, no technical details, just say you give up wrong livelihood, and then you practice right livelihood. And then in the suttas, the Buddha goes on in great detail, what are wrong livelihood and what are the right livelihood, some of which I'll be talking about today to you. So this is the first basic definition the Buddha gave, okay? But this is part of a longer sutta. So right livelihood is a synecdoche or shorthand, if you like. It's a Greek word meaning shorthand for the whole of moral training. So if you like, you can say moral training means living rightly. It is about human evolution, how we work. See, how you have worked allow you to sit here peacefully to listen to this class, right? So human evolution means we change, we grow physically, right? First, we evolve from the animals, we became human. That is a biological evolution. Then as humans, we are born, we are born with a human body, yes, but we are not born with a human mind. Very often we forget this. We are not born with a human mind. If a human baby is stolen by, say, an ape or wolf, and for the first 7 years especially, this mother wolf or mother bear or mother ape takes care of the baby, this baby will behave just like an animal. And they have got such young babies, children, feral children, and they cannot behave as humans anymore because their minds already have become that kind of level. So we are born with a human body, then our parents show us human love, human care. That's how we become human. The next 7 years of our life especially, we are humanized. That is why it's so important. Parents are important to us for that. We become social beings, we go to school, we have friends, neighbors, and so on. So that's our social evolution. We become social beings. Okay? So we become social individuals. In other words, we are still ourselves, but we connect with others. So this idea of being yourself and connecting with others is a very important idea in early Buddhism. Now, here we're going to talk about 4 special qualities that we need to build up. Okay? As people who work, people who need to work to live, so to speak. They're called the 4 accomplishments. And this is from the Digajano Sutta. Digajano is a name for a person. His name is very odd. It means long knee. Okay, it's just his name, a nickname, I suppose. And the Buddha teaches him these 4 qualities. This is found in A 8.54. So here, the first thing is you got to be accomplished in diligence. You need to be hardworking. You need to put in effort in rightly earning a living. You must make the effort. Without effort, you won't be able to be happy, basically, right? So it starts there, effort. You must make the effort. Even coming here to sit in this class, you made an effort to come, okay? The accomplishment of diligence. Number 2, there is the accomplishment of watchfulness. You have to be mindful, careful, and during the COVID time, this is the key word. You have to be very watchful. In fact, COVID is teaching us moral virtue. COVID is telling us, wear your mask, social distancing, don't go to crowded places. It is all Buddhist teachings right from the start, right? And with that idea, we also protect, at the same time, we enjoy our wealth. We protect the source of our joy, because if we don't, we will lose that joy. We'll talk more about this a little later. Then number 3, there is spiritual friendship. We don't live alone. We have a family, we have neighbors, we have friends, and we have to connect healthily, happily with others, okay? And by properly fulfilling our social duties and doing this happily. The keyword is happily. Remember, the smiling aspect in meditation is very important. The smiling effect, so this inner smile also is very important as we go through life. The world out there may be unhappy, may be suffering, but we must be that bright light in the darkness to help stretch our hand, gentle smile, be there when people need us. Okay. For example, Rana told me today, she helped this old lady to cross the road because it's already, she walks so slow because of her health and age, and she's so afraid to cross a traffic light. Can you imagine that? And we have seen her standing there waiting for someone to help. For some reason, she did not call other people, but she saw Ratna and said, can you please help me cross the road? Is it? So there is this kind of connection. And this is the connection we need to have with our neighbors and friends. And accomplishment number 4, quality number 4 is a balanced living. Okay? So this balanced living is the quality of right livelihood. Again, these are just a summary. We're going to talk about all these things in more detail in a while. So accomplishment of diligence, being hardworking, the accomplishment of watchfulness, being careful, protective of our wealth, spiritual friendship, making the right friends, good friends, and keeping our life, our livelihood in a balanced way, in a good, proper way, balance up. And what is a balanced livelihood? Sama. See, sama, notice the Malay word sama is the same word, and English same. Huh? So sama here means balance, okay? Sama jivita. Jivita here is a noun for living. Here the Buddha talks to Vyagapaja. It is one of the Indians who listens to Buddha. It says here Vyagapaja, the son of family, knowing his income and expenses, live within his means. Being neither extravagant nor stingy, considering thus his income will stand in excess of his expense, but not his expense in excess of his income, right? So basically this means, okay, I have so much money, this is what I can spend, but I must not overspend. Okay. So notice the Buddha is telling us all this very simple tip here, right? The Buddha is not just saying meditate, right? He also says, live a balanced life, live within your means. Okay, here you have this picture of a traditional Chinese balance, okay? And here's the example the Buddha gives. So just as a scalesman, the one holding the scales in the picture, or his apprentice knows on holding up the scales that by so much it has dipped down, by so much it has tilted up, even so, knowing his income and his expenses. So he balances up his how he spends, but not his expenses in excess of his income. So he spends less than what he has. He does not spend more. Then he gets to a debt. He's going to have a lot of problems. So now let's look next section and look at what's called the golden rule of livelihood, the universal rule and truth, right? How do we, what is the key practice in right livelihood? Now in the Dhammadesaka Udayi Sutta, the teaching given to Dai, the Buddha basically defines this golden rule as neither harming oneself nor others in all our actions. If we're not sure whether our action is right or not, we ask ourselves, what I'm doing, will it harm me? Will it harm others? If no, in both cases, then it's all right. You can do it. Okay? And the Buddha also taught the same thing to young Rahula in the Ambalatika Rahulowada Sutta M61. The Buddha teaches young Rahula, says, before acting, reflect. Will it harm me? Will it harm others? Will it harm both? Here, harm both, that means environment, nature, right? So these are also called the three golden principles, okay? Then in another sutta called the Veludwareya Sutta, S55.6, the Buddha teaches further 5 points of utter purity. 3 points of utter purity. Tikoti parisuddhi. This is the golden rule of moral conduct. We should keep the precepts ourselves, right? First thing, keep the precepts yourself. Then number 2, we should encourage others to do the same, right? So you just don't do it, you also encourage others gently. And we should speak in praise of keeping the precepts. So these are the 3 things we must do in terms of precepts. Okay? Practice it yourself, encourage others to do it, and talk the good things about it. Then people will also follow your example. And we are still on the teaching of the golden rule of livelihood. In the Dhammika Sutta, Sutta Nipata, chapter 2, Sutta 14, the Buddha gives us a poem that one not destroy life, nor cause to kill. Notice, don't kill, nor make other people kill. Nor approve of killing by others. Now, this is quite difficult, right? So we don't, it's not just not killing, we also don't make other people kill and do not approve of it, right? This is the complete ideal moral conduct of protecting life. Just because it is difficult to practice doesn't mean we should not practice it. That's the whole idea. The Buddha teaches us a number of ideals. We try our best to reach it. Ideals are like stars. We may not reach the stars, but we guide our path. We guide our journey by looking at the stars. Laying aside the rod, that meaning violence, the stick, meaning violence. Today in India, you see those police, they use the rod, the danda. No? This is the word, the rod, meaning violence towards all beings. So we have put aside the stick. We don't use violence against anyone. Whenever there's a problem, we solve it in a nice, friendly way. We try our best to do this. Both the still and the moving in the world. So we are kind. We try to be non-violent to beings that are still as well as moving. Here, still means those are like arahats. They are practitioners, right? Still moving. They're still troubled by things in the world, right? So that's the one meaning. No? Another meaning is, according to some commentators, is that the still here, unmoving, are plants. So we don't destroy plants, you know. We protect the plants. Plants and trees are very important in Buddhism because plants and trees give us life. Plants and trees, greenery, absorb the sun's energy and turn it into food for us. If there are no plants and trees, we'll have no food to eat. We all will die. So plants and trees are very important to us. The moving here refers to other beings. Okay, so there are two ways of looking at the still and the moving. So summary again, the threefold purity of our actions, not breaking the precept ourselves, not making others do it, and not approving any breaking of the precepts. So we gently encourage people to keep the precepts, okay? At least tell them in a nice way so they know, at least you have told them. Maybe at first they don't seem serious, but at least you have told them. People will remember what you tell them. So right livelihood then is living and enjoying life within our means, without harming ourselves, nor others, nor the environment. Okay, so this is a bit of summary. All these are very simple, but not so easy to practice. So we got to remember all these things. So there are three more aspects. Further, we look again at the three aspects of livelihood. Now, some negative points in the Vanija Sutta. Vanija means merchant or shopkeeping. Yeah? A5.177, the Buddha teaches the 5 types of wrong professions, 5 kinds of work we should avoid. A lay follower should not engage in any of these 5 kinds of trade, any 5 kinds of job, any kind of trading in weapons. Okay, making of weapons, selling of weapons, because weapons is to kill people, right? Of course, here it can be quite difficult. You find some people have no choice. They because of the qualification, they have to, in Singapore, you know, they make weapons here. So the one way out in this case is weapons nowadays are not used to fight, really. I mean, they're just used, we are called deterrents. So this is the best excuse you can have. But of course, if you have a chance to get a better job, then you should look for the better job so that you don't create a karma. Indirectly, you are supporting the tools that will kill other beings. Trading in humans, okay, we think it sounds odd today, but in the Buddha's time, even at a time when Singapore was founded in 19th century, you find that there is slavery. You know, these Europeans who go to Africa and just capture, kidnap those Africans, very simple people, and then make them slaves, right? And sell them like property, you know. So this is called trading in humans, so selling human beings. So this is totally wrong, right? Because we have to respect other humans as we respect ourselves. And not trading in meat, because if you trade in meat, you have to kill. So this is another thing, not easy, okay? Remember, these are all very idealistic teachings. if you really want a happy world, this is what we should direct our sciences and discoveries and efforts towards. This is the truly happy human life. Okay, we may not be able to reach it yet, but we are heading that way. Not trading in intoxicants, including drugs, because this will cause a lot of intoxication and heedlessness and clouded minds. All right. And lastly, not trading in poisons. Right here, poisons here means toxic things. Okay. When I was a young monk in Malaysia, I had a friend, very diligent, very hardworking person, very full of ideas in Buddhist work, a person called Dr. Wong. I wrote about him in my book called Charisma in Buddhism. Okay? He was working with Monsanto and he had to sell this weed killer, and no one knows. He himself did not know it was carcinogenic. So he died quite young, sadly, because of cancer. Right? So there you are. This is what happens with this kind of trade, which is very dangerous in poisons and toxic things. So this basically is talking about healthy environment, healthy living, especially in our own homes. Okay, so remember, these are the 5 types of wrong professions we should try our best to avoid. And there are other kinds of wrong occupation we have to watch out in terms of the spirit, in terms of principles. Whatever promotes greed, hate, delusion, or fear should be avoided. These are called the 4 biases: greed, hate, delusion, or fear. What is a greed-based occupation? Advertising is one of them, because this is quite, I might get some objections saying this. There's a lot of advertising going on. The kind of advertising that makes people want to have things they don't need. The advertising that arouses craving, and that's not healthy. You see, so this is quite difficult when you study Buddhism, right? That's why the Buddha said Buddhism goes against the currents, right? So you got to think of a way where you make people buy things, but they're good things. And you do it in a right way, educational way, right? Another greed-based job is making luxury goods, very expensive goods, only people with a lot of money can buy it, and it's more to mark their class than anything else. So these are not really right livelihood, okay? Because they make people different into classes and so on. Then you have hate-based work, hate-based jobs, like loan sharking, right? Of course, we don't like to see this. Of course, in Singapore, things are quite in good control. There was a time when things would be quite bad. You pass by and then you see paint being splashed on the door. Then somebody has owed some money, right? And then there are signs written there: you owe, you pay. No? So this is don't borrow money onto that low level, and you get yourself into a lot of trouble. We'll be talking about this in a while, a bit more, not to get into debts. Then there is delusion-based work and actions, believe in fortune telling and so on, right? I mean, if fortune telling is such a successful thing, there'll be no fortune teller, because the fortune tellers will be the most successful people. They will know what to do, what not to do. But if the fortune tellers are like that, they are there, see, that means their fortune is not good, right? They have their stories to tell, of course. Now, let me just comment one thing in Chinese practice, that there is what is called these oracle sticks. Okay, this Chinese, the Chinese don't like to share their problems with others, so they use oracle sticks. They do a prayer usually before Kuan Yin, and then they shake this container of oracle sticks, and then one stick will come out. That's the amazing thing, is always somehow one stick will come out, and then there's a number there, and then you look for it's like a poem, and you need someone to interpret it for you, the poem, and then this person will listen, and you're supposed to follow it. So it is a kind of counseling where you decide what to do with your life because you have some problems. Now, the thing is this: if you take it in a wise way, you don't become lost and confused and frightened by it. it's not so bad, okay? In fact, if you know all the teachings of Buddhist economics, you don't need these oracle sticks, for example, right? Then your life will not be controlled by something outside of you, see? So this is what in Buddhism we don't want. We don't want to be controlled by anything external to us. The oracle sticks are external to us. Our problems begin inside us, in our minds, and we should deal with them there. That's the spirit of the teaching. And then there is fear-based work, right? Religion can be that. Religion can create fear in us, and that won't be good. Superstitions create fear in us. This kind of work, frightening people, is not good, right? So our task in Buddhism is to tell the truth to people, warn the dangers, tell you what to do the right thing, tell you to do happy things, to be self-reliant so that you don't get yourself into any trouble. Okay? All right, now it's 9 o'clock, so I'm going to give you a 5 minutes break now. So we will come back in 5 minutes and finish up our study of right livelihood.
You can continue now.
Okay. All right, you all can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's continue with our right livelihood study. Now, point 8 is on wholesome occupation, on a good kind of livelihood. So we have two kinds. You got good livelihood and you got right livelihood. So what's the difference? A good job, a good livelihood, we try to be helpful, right? The first thing in our work. So that's a good livelihood. We show loving kindness. We look at people the way they are. We respect them. In fact, the word respect means to take people as they are, begin there, all right? And then go from there. That's loving kindness. And then we work diligently, we work hard, we do our best to help people, to serve them. And most importantly, we enjoy our work, right? So I would like to tell young people when I give talks in the university, I tell them, when you look for a job, you make sure the key idea there is that you'll be happy with the work. It's not how much it pays, but you'll be happy with it. You enjoy your work. And you go on learning. We don't stop learning, right? In fact, I have some really intelligent young people who tell me they're not happy with their work because they're not learning anything new. So they would like to get a job where they can learn something new. So these are 5 qualities of a good livelihood, a good job. Okay, so if you're a young person, you're looking for a job. So these are the 5 things for you to help you kind of define what kind of job will be ideal, will be really good. Now, what about right livelihood? Now, right livelihood refers to not just a part of the, holy life or spiritual life. Right livelihood, in fact, refers to the whole, everything that is Buddhist in our life, right? In fact, once Ananda was very happy. Ananda said, "Oh, it tells the Buddha, this is a Bhante, blessed one. I think right livelihood is half of the holy life." Then something like, moral training and so on. The Buddha said, "Why do you think that? Right livelihood is the whole of the spiritual life, of the Buddhist life, because you start by, the work that you do will affect your moral virtue, and that will affect your mind, and then it will affect your wisdom. So they all go together. In other words, right livelihood also is supposed to bring you wisdom, all right? So in right livelihood, the first thing is we take refuge in the 3 jewels. We are guided by the Buddha, the teacher, the ideal of human enlightenment, that the human being can rise out of this world like a lotus and go even beyond the gods and the heavens to become awakened. And then there is the way, the path, the Dharma for us to do that. And there are people called the Arahats who have walked this path and they have awakened just like the Buddha. So we cannot talk bad about the Arahats. They are just like the Buddha. Their awakening is the same as that of the Buddha's awakening. And then we keep the 5 precepts, right? This is our own practice, right? So that we can reach the path leading to the fullness of the 3 jewels. And in right livelihood, it means we take what we need and we give what we can. All right. So in other words, we don't overspend or we don't overuse, we don't go beyond our limits and so on. Okay. So then right livelihood is also the way of personal development. We use right livelihood to build up our personal well-being, our body and mind. Okay. So when we talk about I mentioned right livelihood just now. Actually, I should have said the word spiritual friendship. Actually, so spiritual friendship is the whole of the Buddhist life. Okay, and spiritual friendship also underpins right livelihood. When we work in right livelihood, we build up spiritual friendship with the people we connect with. So spiritual friendship is like right livelihood is the whole of the spiritual life, of the holy life. Why? Because all this we do, whether it is spiritual friendship or it is right livelihood, it will lead us to the path of awakening, to go beyond suffering, in other words. So why? Because our work is our life, and our life is our work. So this is a chiasmus. It kind of is a balanced way of talking. Life and work, work and life, they go together in this case. All right. Notice here how the two words fit in very nicely. Our work is our life is our work, right? You cannot say this about eating, right? You cannot say, okay, well, you can say, but you got to choose. You eat to live or live to eat, right? So of course, we eat to live, not live to eat. We live to eat, and that means you're gluttonous, and that's wrong livelihood, okay? Now, there is an interesting word here when we talk about right livelihood, something called vocation. In our times, vocation seems to have taken a bit of a beating and given a bad name. It's when you don't do well, you're not clever, then you have a vocation. But then that's not the case. There was a time when learning was very important in human civilization. Vocation has got a very deep meaning. While it is true, it is one's ordinary occupation, business, or profession, this is the modern sense, but it is far from being ordinary originally. Because vocation comes from the Latin noun vocatio, meaning a calling, or the verb vocare, to call. In other words, you have the sense of like duty. You feel there's a higher calling. You want to do it right, so you follow right livelihood. So in this sense, right livelihood is a calling, it's a vocation. It is not really a profession. Well, it is a profession in the sense that you try to become good at what you are doing, definitely. But it's a calling because it's something you do because you want to be happy and you want to make other people happy too. There is a sense of spiritual urgency. You see people suffering, you see other beings suffering, and you know, you hope things can be better. So there is this inner and higher call, sense of wanting to make this a better world because of your compassion, because you put others where they are supposed to be to help them, and you have this wisdom. You know what to do and you want to do it. So you can see what is called the true nature of life, or the 3Ds: decay or impermanent, disease. We are not well all the time, and there is death. We all have a shelf life, just like goods in the supermarket of life, right? So decay, disease, death, always there. And right livelihood prepares us to live happily, to face these three realities. We are inspired, filled with joyful drive, or sadha. So in the line above, seeing the true nature of life, I should have put the word there, samvega. Samvega. Samvega is that sense of urgency. And that causes fear sometimes when we see decay, disease, death. But when we see right livelihood, we are happy. So there's this pasada, this joyful faith. Then we have pasana citta. Pasana is the adjective. We have this radiant heart, like when we are doing loving kindness. And so we do this joyful right livelihood. In fact, Ratna and I, that's what we're doing. We're doing right livelihood by translating the suttas, making it available to you all, running this class for you. Notice we're not charging anyone for this class because it is a joy to teach you all. And we know you feel happy, you have great faith, and then you will support us in all this common effort to bring more joy to the world. Example, right livelihood, you have, for example, a nurse, now, especially now you find nursing, doctoring, working in a hospital is very trying, very difficult, even risky. Right, so this is really something very important to us, life-saving. On the other hand, there are also the creative arts, making the world beautiful, a pleasant place to live in. So that also can be regarded as right livelihood. Of course, sometimes it doesn't pay much, but it creates beauty. And these are the kind of people we need to support. So in other words, when we look at right livelihood, we feel a sense of Dharma joy in terms of seeing the true meaning and purpose in life. And because of that, we turn to right livelihood. And that gives us joyful interest. For example, when I do my sutta work, you see that my joy right now is I'm giving this talk and I know it's going to end. And once this is over, I'm very happy to see you all off, knowing that you all have spent a good time here. Then I can go back to my work. I feel very happy, able to go back to the sutta. So there's this joyful interest. Otherwise, you can't go on for 20 years. And next year, will mark 20 years of my full-time sutta work. Ratna and I working full-time sutta work. And we'll be working on SD number 60, right? So there is a special volume, number 60. So this is all the result of joyful interest, of piti. That's the word there. Or in Sanskrit, it's priti, right? Spiritual joy, joyful interest. So whatever you do it joyfully. Now we come to something practical. Wealth management. When you talk about livelihood, you create wealth, and if you're wealthy, you have good karma, then you have a better chance of helping the world, make people happy, help them to study suttas, give them Buddhist books, things like that. Now here we have two suttas, Digha Jhana Sutta, which I already mentioned earlier, A 8.54, and Anana Sutta. Anana means free of debt, A 4.62. Notice both are from A, Anguttara teachings for lay people. So we're going to look at the basic teachings of Digha Jhana compared to the Anana Sutta, which talks about joy as well as spiritual welfare. Worldly aspect, joy, worldly aspect, and then spiritual welfare is the Dharma aspect. So remember, we started off by saying that in right livelihood, you build up the accomplishment of diligence, you apply your being hardworking, right? And when we work hard, we receive our pay, we can buy things, we even bought a house and so on, right? And you feel joyful because of that. You own the house because of your hard work, right? So you begin to have faith in yourself. For example, the way we got this house, we call it Pali House, where we live and work here. It's a beautiful story. Rana and I and our family, we were invited to move to Singapore. We practically were penniless. We just lived day to day, and we were brought to Singapore. We were given a bit of support, and then we were given jobs to do. Rana ran a daycare center, and so on, right? And then one day, we were paying rent for our house, quite a lot of money, about $850 a month. And then we found out that, with that kind of money, you can actually pay for a house. So, and someone actually suggested, why don't you buy a house? So I said, okay, I'm going to get a house, and I can find a corner house where I won't be disturbed and it's affordable. And And this wonderful friend managed to find such a place and even helped us with a down payment, and a lot of people got together to help us. So you have this amazing spiritual friendship. And then from there, we were able to pay monthly to the bank. Then after a while, we realized after some years passed, you can actually get a lump sum and pay back to the bank. So, and you don't have to pay another 10, 20 years, making the bank rich. In fact, we save about 20,000 Singapore dollars by paying the bank the rest of the loan. So that's how we work together, through diligence, through spiritual friendship. And this is part of how our Right Livelihood is able to have its own house called Pali House that we live in right now. And mind you, this is done with me, with Ratna and I doing full-time Right Livelihood work. So this is an example. We want to be an example to the future, that lay people, like any of you, even couples, you can do your own Right Livelihood in this way, but you got to be diligent in the suttas first. You have something really good and beautiful to teach and to practice. And remember, the second point is the accomplishment of watchfulness, to be careful, protect what you have earned, so that you can enjoy it. You feel this joy of enjoyment because you have taken good care of the wealth that you have brought home, that you have earned. And all that is done through moral virtues, that rightly done, properly done, honestly done. And because of this, there is spiritual friendship, right? You all are our friends. We are gathered together here. Although we are a small group, it's because we are very good friends. I think it's a German saying, friends like books should be few and good, right? So here we are, we have this wonderful spiritual friendship here based on the Dharma, based on blamelessness. We see no fault in each other. We see goodness in each other. And because of our gathering, we grow in wisdom. That's another amazing thing in Right Livelihood. And to maintain all this, we keep our life balanced, our expenditure balanced. So we don't owe anyone anything. So when we pay the bank, everything is so happy. We are debtless. Only thing we owe the Buddha now for his teaching. So we have to practice. And we pay back by charity, by being kind to others, by being generous to others, helping others the way that we can. We give what we can, we take what we need. So this is the kind of practical aspects of Right Livelihood. Basically, it means be kind to others, even when they do not seem to deserve it. You find a lot of people come to our Facebook with all kinds of ideas. At first, it's quite tricky. You got a lot of trolls. They're not really interested in learning. And then you find then there are fewer people, but they're really keen on learning, and we help each other to learn, right? So we're kind to each other, although we do not know each other that well, right? So we don't really deserve all this, but we give this kindness to others because we appreciate that they are there with us. That's the meaning of to be kind to others, even when they do not seem to deserve it. That's compassion, by the way. Now, let's look a little deeper into the accomplishment of watchfulness. In the Digajana Sutta, again, the Buddha defines something very surprising. Just watch for this surprise. What is the accomplishment of watchfulness? Araka Sampada. Here, Vegapaja, says the Buddha, whatever wealth the son of family receives through work and zeal, gathers by the strength of his arms, earns by the sweat of his brow, and justly obtains by right means, such he guards and watches over, so that kings will not seize it. In other words, you don't get fined, for example, right? In ancient times, the king would take away everything if you commit some crime. Eh? And also, if you don't have a will, the person dies intestate, then the king will take over all the property. Thieves will not steal it. You're careful that thieves will not take away your property. Fire will not burn your precious things. Water will not wash it away. And unloving heirs will not waste it, take it away. So I love telling a special group of people who are there. These are the insurance sellers. I said, hey, look, the Buddha teaches us to invest in insurance. You put money in the bank, you don't earn much. You're a poor person making the bank rich. But you buy insurance, you save in a more productive way, right? So we buy insurance and we save some money that way, right? So here you are. I mean, when you buy insurance, thieves cannot steal your money, fire will not burn it, water will not wash it away, and so on, right? So if you're doing insurance, remember this teaching, Di Gajana Sutta. A 8.54. Now we're still on the subject of wealth. Adiya Sutta. Adiya means wealth. The 5 uses of wealth. So if you have money, you have wealth, how do you use it? 5 ways, yeah. The first way is for personal and family use. So it's obvious, right? So it's roughly 20%, right? Then another 20% for friends and companions, right? And then another 20% for security and insurance. Then number 4, the fivefold offerings. This is a duty to other society. We'll come to this in a while. And then look at this. What are the fivefold offerings? So here, out of this 20%, you divide into 5. That means 5% roughly. These are just guides. We should save that to help relatives who need help, and we offer guests nice things to eat, comfortable comfort when they visit us, and then also you all remember your departed, so you spend some money there. Maybe print some books in memory of the departed, or make some dana in memory of the departed, and so on. Then number 4, to the king here means you pay your taxes. You don't run away with taxes. You don't cheat the government. You get caught and you're in serious trouble. Now the last one is interesting. It says to deity. Now this is the only place where the Buddha said this, because he knows some of his followers that they are from the Brahmins, from the old religion. They still believe in some kind of deva or god, so they still do their traditional offerings. So the Buddha is saying, don't spend too much. Okay, just this amount. Don't overspend. Don't have elaborate ceremonies and waste your money. Just 5%. Okay, this is less than other religions, right? So if you follow that, still have that kind of idea. So here you have this rough idea on budgeting. Interesting how the Buddha talks about this, right? And now the last 5th for Dharma work, Dharma spirited work and charity. So don't forget us. we're working without salary. So it's roughly, this is what you use for to help us. Okay. So this is the Buddhist economics. So remember the Adiya Sutta, the 5 uses of wealth. You may have to look at this recording again if you like. So right livelihood, in summary, means to live and to learn. And also, in terms of in our case, we should know Dharma and make Dharma known, right? We read the suttas, then we encourage others to read the suttas. Only a while ago, someone told me, after attending this class, I realized the suttas are not difficult, really. In fact, they're so interesting, right? So there you are. Just tell people that. Don't say it's not really that difficult. Now, there are alternatives in right livelihood. There are 2 ways, at least, you can practice right livelihood. And this is based on my experience. I have friends in Europe who have their own full-time Buddhist businesses. Now, in alternative A, you can have a regular part-time job so that you can freely devote your time, your spare time, to the Dharma, right? So that people who work a while and then they have time to study the suttas, to go for retreats, and so on. Now, alternative B, you can work for a period of time, let's say 6 months during the, say, winter, and then summer, you kind of go for retreats. Summer is a good time in Europe, especially. I like to go for retreats. So you take the rest of the year off, supporting yourself on your savings and devoting all your time to the practice of the Dharma. So how do we live this vision of right livelihood? The best way to work in right livelihood is to have a community, work together with a few people, at least with a partner, right? Like Ratna and I will work together, and then that's fine for the start. So it is the complete spiritual life in simplicity of joy and wisdom, joy and vision rather. We are happy doing this work, that's why we're able to keep on doing it. And there is this vision ahead. We know we are talking to the future. The future will find our suttas even more important to them, the sutta discovery. What we have written in the suttas will be very useful to them. And we save a lot of time, you know. I mean, I can watch some shows and I still have time to do my sutta work because I'm not involved wasting my time with other things of the world. So we cut down on what we want. We have what we need. And that way we save a lot of time. And we share a lot of things. We share our funds, share our skills and resources for social work and Dharma work. I have friends who share books with me, who share information with me, who share their skills to help to maintain our website. You all do proofreading for me, things like that. So you're sharing your skills, your time, and so on. So right livelihood is how well we live and work together, right? So Dharma work is to inspire others, the true meaning and purpose of life. A lot of people out there, they're not happy because suddenly they realize they're like this rats running around in their wheel, you know. So we talk about the Dharma to them. Some of you have retired. You think, oh, you work very hard and you wait for the retiring moment. Okay, then you retire and suddenly you find you got nothing to do. The old routine is gone, and then there is this fear. What am I doing? There's nothing left in life, just waiting to die, as someone said, right? And you find that when you take up Buddhist learning, you find, oh, there's this new purpose in life. You find there's so many things you can do. So that's how we see purpose and meaning and purpose in life. So the right livelihood community can support those who are ready and able to do full-time Dharma work, especially, right? Or even part-time Dharma work is possible. So it is Buddhist economics we're talking about, the wholesome management of the home on 3 levels. How do we manage the home on 3 levels? First, the immediate family. We deal with them in a happy way. Then there's this, it's not just a biological family, there is the spiritual family, and it includes you all here gathered here. And then there is the wider social contact, the world out there, many of whom do not know what Buddhism is. Or they think they know Buddhism, but they have some wrong ideas about it. So all of you here can do the work of becoming bridges to send out all this wonderful teaching of the suttas of early Buddhism to them. So that's all part of right livelihood. So in the Sigalovada Sutta, the Buddha talks about 6 kinds of relationships, right? How right livelihood can spread. First, of course, between parents and children, guardians and wards, and between secular teachers and pupils, between husband and wife, all must be happy relationship, between friends and colleagues, employers and employees, and Dharma teachers and students. So all these relationships are given in some detail in this sutta, underlying or underlain by the idea of Buddhist economics, right livelihood. So right livelihood, in other words, is a kind of social organism. It is something that is changing, moving all the time. So here we talk about the 4 truths, right? The Buddhist work as if people and life matter. That's one way of looking at it. We work to live, to learn, to love, to light. Now the last one, the word light is used in the poetic way, to bring light into our lives. To live is to learn is to love is to see the light of the path of wisdom. Now you can see the 4 L's in the swastika. Now there are 2 swastika here, and it's a bit fearful to say this, especially after what the Nazis have done. The Nazis ironically used this red swastika. Okay, so it's anti-clockwise. But the Buddhist swastika, which was there for thousands of years, in Japanese it's called manji, in Chinese it's wenzi. It's actually an ancient figure, character for 10,000, meaning the virtues of the Buddha. Okay, so the four L's are there. So you can see L, 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 they go round and round. And this swastika is a revolving cross. It turns round and round. So living, learning, loving, and light are all going around, changing us. Okay, so this is where I was talking with someone about, this person is very inspired. He's a Westerner. He's a good Buddhist, but he says, oh, you know, he sees the cross, and the cross also represents something symbolic to him. I say, yeah, the cross is also a Buddhist symbol. The cross represents the Four Noble Truths, right? You see the bottom bar touching the ground, that is the truth of suffering. Then the bar on the left, arising of suffering. The bar on the right, ending of suffering. And then when you put all this into practice, you rise up on the path. That is the upper bar. Okay? Then the cross goes round and round. That's a swastika, representing impermanence, changing. Right? So that's how we reflect on symbols. Right? So this is the good side of the swastika, the manji. Okay. So all this livelihood results in a good community, happy people working together, and that becomes a spiritual community where we put others before us, we live through the Dharma, we work for the Dharma, we want other people to be happy, and that also inspires the good society outside of our own lives, the society at large. So the right livelihood also influences the world at large. And the key word here is visasa. In one word, is visasa. What does visasa mean? Visasa means closeness, trust. And this is what brings people together. Okay? So in Dhammapada 204, the Buddha says, visasa paramanyati. The trusty are the best relatives. Many of you are like family to me. You're very close to me. In fact, you're closer to each other than to our own families, relatives, because of this trustiness, because we have been through a lot together. We love the Dharma, we care for each other. So this is what makes us feel connected in this world, visasa. So think about this word, find out more about this word. Visasa paramanyati. The best relatives are those we trust, those we are close to, those we can be naturally open with, visasa. So that is the spiritual community. It becomes the ideal society, which is a fellowship of individuals, of those who love and seek truth and beauty. When we study the Dharma, we see the true reality of life. And to know this is beautiful. It makes us happy. That's why I like these two words, truth and beauty. Right? Truth and beauty, these are the two things. That's all we need to know, as the poet John Keats say, right? Truth is, beauty is truth, and truth, beauty. That is all you need to know, right? So, and that's the Dharma, the two aspects of the Dharma, okay? Truth is the Dharma that gives meaning of life, suffering and its ending. Truth one and truth number two. Beauty is the Dharma that gives us the purpose of life. By our own lives, we inspire others. Like Asaji inspires Sariputta to renounce. Asaji doesn't say anything. Asaji was silent and calm. He's the youngest of the 5 monks. He was walking very calmly, collecting his alms in the morning. Sariputta sees him and is very inspired by Asaji's calmness, and then asks him to teach. And Asaji gives a very simple teaching. Asaji tells Sariputta, whatever arises from causes will pass away. Everything is impermanent. right, in 4 lines. So hearing just 2 lines, Sariputta becomes a stream winner. But he tells the same teaching to Moggallana, his close friend. Moggallana also becomes a stream winner, and they both went to see the Buddha, to renounce the world, become monks. So this is our, how we inspire people by our own calmness, our own radiance, our own loving kindness, the happiness, because we know the truth, or we know more and more of the truth. So this beauty arises in us, and we inspire others to be happy too. This is called the Asaji effect. All right, we're coming closer to the end now. So spiritual community, meaning a full life outside of the world itself. We don't have to be caught up in the world like rats in a rat race. We live this happy life outside of the busy world. We may be in the world, but we are not caught up in it. Even if we are caught up in it, we have this inner stillness we can return to and recharge ourselves. So we have this still center. The eye in the world's raging storm. Okay, so that you can see, this is an amazing picture from above the sky. You can see the eye of the hurricane, very still there. Right, so there we are in that still center as a right livelihood, as Dharma practitioners. So the spiritual community is in the world, for the world, but not of the world. No one can be a member. You can't join us by being a member. You have to commit yourself to the 3 jewels. You all didn't become members. You were attracted by the Dharma. You wanted to learn something. You learn about suttas, and all I talk about is sutta, sutta, sutta. And that's what makes you happy and connected, right? In the Dhamma Cetiya Sutta, Cetiya here means shrine, Dhamma Shrine Sutta, M89, the Buddha speaks of individuals of the spiritual community. The monks are happy living together, laymen happy together, living in concord with mutual joy without disputing, mixing like milk and water, seeing each other with kindly eyes. Notice, mixing like milk and water, right? Looking at each other with kindly eyes. And then in the Gopaka Moggallana Sutta, but the Buddha has passed away by this time, so this powerful chief minister comes along and asks Ananda, how do you run the Sangha? Then Ananda replies, the worthy ones do not deal with us. Monks do not have roles, do not have status, ranks, and so on. They use the Dharma to sort problems out. The Dharma deals with us. In other words, the teaching is above the teacher, the Dharma above all. So right livelihood, in other words, gives us this ability to live as an ideal society, as a community. There is communion, meaning connection, sangwasa. Sangwasa, sang meaning together, wasa means to live, living together in space and spirit. Although we are all over the world here, but we are together now in spirit. We live as one. And we listen to each other with loving kindness, with respect. We work together with compassion. And we study the suttas or the Dharma with joy, with gladness. And we meditate in peace, in equanimity. So this loving kindness, compassion, gladness, equanimity are the 4 divine virtues. We live like gods, like angels, like devas. The spiritual community centers upon the Dharma. This is what Ananda says in the Gopaka Moggallana Sutta. The spiritual community centers upon the Dharma. So here again, the Dharma is of the teacher. Ananda tells the chief minister, there is Brahmin, the course of training for the monks prescribed. So the Buddha prescribed the Patimokkha, monastic code laid down by the Blessed One, who knows and sees the Arahat, fully self-awakened one. So here you see these monks from the Forest, International Forest Monastery, Wat Pa Nanachad in northeast Thailand, reciting the Patimokkha together. Yeah, not the Ovada Patimokkha, it's just the Patimokkha, okay? The 2 to 7 rules of the monks. On an opposite day, observance day, those of us who live in dependence on one and same village and resort all assemble as one. Having assembled, we ask of one another regarding what has happened. Right? So this is the opposite day. You see these monks gathered together. Now they're reciting the rules. If any of the monks were to say he has committed any offense or transgression, we will deal with him in accordance with the training rule, the Vinaya, in accordance with the way we have been instructed. So that's how the true monks, the good monks live who follow the Vinaya. The worthy ones do not deal with us, the Dharma deals with us. So the Buddha has laid down the Vinaya so that it helps them to be, the monks are unified and they help each other grow. So in other words, right livelihood is teaching us the meaning of renunciation. How to live rightly is to understand and practice renunciation, letting go. Lay renunciation comprises of loving kindness and the breath to start with. By coming here, you are lay people who have renounced the world for a short while. You have come here 2 hours to be with us, to be with the Dharma. You have renounced the world for a short while. You practice loving kindness, you practice breath meditation. In loving kindness, you renounce hatred. You accept others as they are. In breath meditation, you let go of life itself, and you take in new life, and then you let go of it, taking breath in and out. And spiritual renunciation, those of the monks, they practice impermanence, and lay people also reflect on impermanence. And when they do that, they can attain stream winning, and they can easily go higher in the case of the monastics. They can become arahats also if they keep to the Vinaya and follow the Dharma. So here, right livelihood for the monastics refer to their higher moral training. In other words, they live strict rules as celibate renunciations, that is no sex, because they practice deep meditation. Then they are not gainfully employed. In other words, they don't worry about status. Their state, their peace, like asaji, is enough. They don't engage with the world, but they engage with the Dharma, like asaji. Okay, it's called asaji effect, remember? And they're supported by alms out of faith by lay people. They are not salaried workers. They are not paid anything. And it is their higher mental training, their deep meditation, which defines them. And they are practicing to awaken now in this life itself as non-returners or as arahats. So this is the purpose of the monastic life, the monks, the ideal, in other words. This is possible, although many do not follow this. So here you see a group of nuns in Sri Lanka, and they can do a horana in Sri Lanka, practicing meditation, happily sitting on a rock. So it's possible if we choose to be honest with yourself. Okay? Right, so RL is renunciation. So this is where you begin to wonder, when the monks have lost their way, then they work for titles. They try to get MA and PhD. So this idea came to me. I wrote this and posted on my Facebook, just for you to think about. Monks with venerable doctorate and other titles seem to suggest that they are ashamed of their renunciation. Are they emperors with no clothes, right? They are not even aware of it until a little boy like me tells them, hey, you have no clothes, So it's embarrassing, isn't it? And nobody likes to be embarrassed, but that's the truth. So remember, read this and reflect on it. So there is the higher morality for the monks, monastics, comprises of what are called the fourfold purification by moral virtue. This is what defines the monk. Number one, they follow the monastic code, Patimokkha, restrain with regard to the monastic code. Number two, they practice sense restraint of the eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body. No sex, in other words. Then number three, full purification of livelihood, what we've been talking about. So they don't go for salaried jobs. They don't need to go for MA and PhD. They live as monks, keeping to the Dharma and Vinaya. That's their livelihood. And then they have the moral virtue of the four requisites: food, clothing, shelter, and help provided by lay people. They use this properly to support themselves. So you can see here, these are monks. I was similarly dressed when I was in Thailand. These are Thai monks accepting food donations, probably this New Year, so lots of offering. Okay, now we are coming to the closing reflection 1 from the Anana Sutta, Sutta on the Deathless. These are Buddha words. These are the summary of the right livelihood for you to reflect on and be joyful about. And what, House Lord, is the joy of ownership? Here, House Lord, a noble youth, a son of family, has wealth gained by work and zeal, gathered by the strength of arm, earned by the sweat of the brow, justly obtained in a lawful way. And the thought, wealth is mine, gained by work and zeal, gathered by the strength of arm, earned by the sweat of the brow, justly obtained in a lawful way. He gains happiness. He gains mental ease or satisfaction. This, House Lord, is the joy of ownership. Notice the Buddha teaches us it's a joy to own something, lay people that is. Number 2, and what, House Lord, is the joy of enjoying his wealth? Now, the first one is joy of owning, not joy of enjoying. Here, House Lord, a noble youth has wealth, thus engage, both enjoys his wealth and does meritorious deeds. There you are. When you have wealth, you can do good deeds more easily. And the thought, by means of wealth thus gained, I both enjoy my wealth and do meritorious deeds. He gains happiness, he gains mental ease. This, House Lord, is the joy of enjoyment. Now the third accomplishment, third reflection. And what, House Lord, is the joy of deathlessness? You don't owe anyone anything. Here, House Lord, a noble youth owes no debt, great or small, to anyone. At the thought, I owe no debt, great or small, to anyone, he gains happiness, he gains mental ease. This, House Lord, is the joy of deathlessness. And what is the joy of blamelessness, the fourth joy? Here, House Lord, a noble disciple is endowed with blameless actions of body, blameless action of speech, blameless actions of mind. Because if you practice the sutta, you learn all these things. No one can blame you rightly of breaking the precepts, for example, or at least they can't do it completely. So here at the thought, I'm endowed with the blameless actions of body, blameless actions of speech, blameless actions of the mind. He gains happiness, he gains mental ease. This, House Lord, is the joy of blamelessness. There you are, our teacher who has taught us all these wonderful things. And this is one of the longest sutta, one of the longest teachings. And now you have a few minutes to ask questions.
Thank you, Piya. Could you please stop sharing so that we can see our
Yes. Okay.
participants? Thank you.
Here we are.
Okay. This is quite a long session. Now
Yes.
we take the question from the chat box. I've quite a number of questions here.
Okay.
I hope we can finish this in time.
Okay. Now, with the permission of the crowd, okay, if you're fine, we will take a little bit of time, a bit extra if necessary, okay, as necessary, but not too much. Not let's say the most 15 minutes extra, perhaps, right? Is that okay, everyone? If anyone doesn't agree,
it's okay.
If you don't agree, you put up your hands now. Anyone doesn't agree with this? Everyone's okay, right? You see anyone raise hand? No?
No,
Okay.
everybody is
All right,
still,
about that. All right, let's go
yeah.
on. Let's not waste time.
Okay, the first question is from Rachel. All right, Rachel asked about loan sharking. She said that is it not based on greed instead of hate?
Oh, it can be both. I'm just giving an example. Yeah, very often wrong level can be based on many in all the negative things. Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Next question.
Thank you. This one is from Sister Wong Yiling. She asked, for business owners who trade in agricultural products, if poison chemicals such as insecticides are among the inventory items, should they be taken off the shelves? If I work in agricultural stores where I have to stack up the the poison pest chemicals or dispatch them for delivery upon order? Am I considered engaging in the wrongful business of trading poison, technically speaking?
Okay, chemically, you're not the cause because you're just working. The person who has all the authority and power of doing that, making you work, the most of the karma is there. But the fact that you are engaged there also endangers yourself because you're near all these unhealthy things, you see. So it's good to consider how can I improve my lifestyle, maybe get a safer job, something like that. It's not a perfect world and we are not perfect. It can be very difficult to change things, especially when we are alone. Now in the West, people form groups, they work together and they're very vocal about, what constitutes health and so on. So what the Buddha is saying, how we can lift up the standards of our life and live more happily the way we want it, not defined by the big companies, or by businessmen. Okay, so it's not a simple thing, but it's possible. The ideas are there. So if you want to live better, there are the ideas. Okay, next question.
Okay, thank you. Next one, we have a question from Dr. Lee.
Yes.
He says, I just shortened the thank you part. Okay. In many ways, the sutta governing what is right livelihood are wonderful if we live in an equitable and idealistic world. Many people have no choice in terms of their occupation. Some factors are beyond their control because of social and inheritance factors.
Very true.
If we exclude those occupations related to meat and food productions, many people will be out of jobs. The obvious occupations related to arms, drugs, and intoxication. Those jobs can be avoided. But Piya, can you comment on personal choice regarding right livelihood? Thanks.
Oh, it's very true, very true. We don't really have the choice. Our life is based on past karma and present conditions. Past karma, we can't change. Present condition, we can somehow adjust. As I said, it's not a perfect world. The Buddha is saying these are the things you can try to avoid. Okay, we're not out here to destroy those jobs. We're saying those are not helpful. So do what you can to start with, right? And accept the situation and knowing that this is going to be impermanent. So you save up your money, hard-earned money, and then somehow maybe retire early to do something more useful or change your job the moment you can. You have that choice. That's the meaning here. We cannot change the whole world, but we can change our choices. We can change ourselves bit by bit somehow. And I think the scientists are helping us here somehow in cutting down wastage. Now you have more of this meatless food. They're a little expensive right now, but I hope they'll be more affordable and edible in the future. So we can work together into like those Star Wars and Star Trek movie where you don't have all those the kind of problem we have today with pollution and stuff. All right, so it's a kind of like a dream, and we need that dream. We need the vision that the Buddha is giving us. The Buddha is not saying go around and burn down the factories. It's not saying that. It's accept reality, and many of those things are not good, so we don't have to support them. And if you can, don't do it. But if you can't, go along for a while and then find a way out. All right. Okay, next question.
Okay, thank you. Next one, we have question from Sister Southgate.
Yeah, sure.
Brother Piya, wisdom is the last in the threefold training, whereas wisdom is the first in the Noble Eightfold Path.
Yes.
Why wisdom is the first in the Noble Eightfold Path?
Very good question. Very good question. Okay, because both apply. You see, wisdom is number one of the eight factors or 8 limbs because it underlies all the other 7 factors, other 7 limbs. Morality must have right view. Everything must have right view. Otherwise, it would not be of the Eightfold Path. That's why it's first. It is. That means we got to study the theory of it first, right? The ending is the goal, is awakening, freedom from suffering. So that's the last one. So that's how you get the beginning and the ending. It starts with wisdom, it ends with wisdom in that sense. So Buddhism is a wisdom religion, if you like. You can even call it a Gnostic religion in that sense. Okay, I hope that is clear. Now, not clear, I can ask again.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have a question from Sister Yiling. This one is about pets. Okay, it says that pet shops that sells medicated spray that kills ticks and lice, and then veterinary treatment of pets which have to use chemicals to kill. What's your comment on this?
Well, here again, these people, they do what they are told. They think that's the best way to do it. But if you ask around, maybe the other ways. Like for example, our cats, we don't have such problems because we keep them clean and we don't let them out. In Singapore, there are strict rules about cats running around. Once our cat ran out, and for 1 month he was lost, so we have to like wash him up again. That's what we do. We wash him clean and take him to the vet again to be dewormed and things like that. So you have to take care of your cat, your dog, your pets in the best way you understand that you can, respecting the precepts. Sometimes we may not know what the vet does, right? But we can't help it because we have to accept the karma, okay? But remember, karma is not like the moment you do it, wham, you get the result. It is something that may happen in the future. So we want to do less and less of that negative karma. We cannot ideally go and tell the vet and say, okay, I've heard this talk here gave tonight, okay, so from now on, you stop doing this. It doesn't work that way. We try our best bit by bit by our own action. How can we upgrade our life so that our pets are safe without all these chemicals? Find out. The Buddha is telling you, find out those ways. You can keep pets at the same time. Cut down on killing. You can't totally stop. It's not a perfect world. We do create some bad karma, but we have more good karma. Remember the parable of the lump of salt. If you are more in the habit of creating good karma, occasionally you get caught with bad karma, but the effect is not so bad. It's like throwing a small lump of salt in a river, in a big river, right? Whereas if you are habitually doing bad deeds, then this is like putting a big lump of salt in a cup of water. Wow, it's going to be very salty. So habitually you are doing good. You're not all the time doing bad. So there is that excuse, if you like. So we do our best in this case. You can't change the world overnight, but you do your best. Take good care of your pets. Okay. Right, next.
Okay, thank you, Piya. We have another question from Sister Rachel.
Yeah.
She asks about his spiritual friendship. When you were explaining about Livelihood and how our life is work and work is life, you mentioned the importance of spiritual friendship.
Yeah.
Is spiritual friendship the relationship between us and other Buddhists, or the relationship between us and anyone who deal with whether they are Buddhist or not?
Okay, ideally, it is connected with the same vision of the three jewels. You have this idea of three jewels in your mind, that the Buddha is your teacher, the Dharma is the teaching you follow, and then you have these ideals who are the noble saints, right? There are occasions when, even though you're talking to someone who's not a Buddhist, you can see that he has this interest. I have talked to many non-Buddhists, right? They're non-Buddhists, Hindus, Christians, Muslims, Baha'is, and so on. And they come quietly for personal instructions. I'll tell them you practice quietly on your own, you do your meditation and so on. So we have this spiritual friendship in that sense, okay? So the three jewels define spiritual friendship, that they look beyond themselves. They want that happiness that the Buddha talks about, okay? And social circumstances somehow prevent them from being open about it. And it'd be amazing there are such people, okay? So we work quietly, we help them in this way. Okay, next question.
Next question is about the invention of electric cars from Mayang. He says
Yes.
this person, Elon Musk, he
Musk.
is known to drive his team very hard and work even unhealthy hours, but at the same time is contributing to fighting climate change and saving the planet by making and marketing electric cars. So could this be right or good?
Okay, I suppose one way of putting it is doing the right thing the wrong way. you know, because he's overworking himself, he doesn't know when to stop, you know. Most such people, they're so full of ideas, it's a torture to them, you know. No, the thing about me doing Buddhist work is that age is catching up, so I know when to stop, see. So once your body start telling you, the body start complaining that you have to stop, you see. So I hope it doesn't reach that point when health suddenly goes zap, you know, short circuit, right? So these great geniuses often have this difficulty. So in a sense, we are grateful to them. We respect them. We wish they would not work so hard, but it's not difficult. I mean, it's not easy to advise them because they're driven by this dream. So in that sense, they sacrifice a lot of things, even their life, for our happiness. So we're grateful to them for that. But occasionally, if you know them, explain to them that they need to take a break, right? Just a short, quick story here. The world's richest man, Rockefeller, fell very sick one day. And so many doctors came to see him, and all these doctors couldn't find any problem with him. Finally, one wise doctor tells him, says, Mr. Rockefeller, there's nothing wrong with you. But if you don't stop overworking yourself, you won't have the time anymore to spend the wealth you have. You just have to learn to take a break from working hard with all this wealth. So that's the advice. Know when to take a break. Know when to enjoy the wealth. Remember, it's good to be wealthy. Number two is the joy of enjoying it. The joy of blamelessness is very important. Debtlessness, blamelessness, the four joys of happiness. Okay, yes, one more question.
One. Okay, this one is a very long one from Brother LCU.
Oh, okay.
In the right understanding and right thought that lead to right speech, right action, and right livelihood, which we are discussing so much that will lead to right action and right effort that ultimately aim for right concentration. How are we to achieve all these 8 paths that even one of it will be in this practical world have some contradiction?
True, very true. So notice the contradiction, respect it, and then look at where you stand, what you can do. This is called a gradual way. It's not suddenly one big zap, sudden awakening, no such thing. You start by asking yourself, what can I do? And build your next step there. Start with that. What can I do right now? Right now, you're listening to this talk, you're practicing. From there, you go on like that, okay? Don't apply your business principle to Buddhism, then you'll fail yourself. Apply Dharma the Dharma way. But the Dharma gives you a chance to get out of the business that has trapped you. This is how you take it one step at a time. We learn to walk. The baby walks, it falls, it stands up, it falls, it holds on to something, and then it walks and it falls again. And in the end, you are the baby. You have learned to walk gradual way. Okay?
Okay.
That's all?
Thank you. We got one more question.
Okay, sure. Yeah, we have about 5 minutes more.
This one is, before that, there is a statement from Brother Go Hen Kui. He says, to Brother Piya and Sister Ratna for this wonderful take on RL, covering both laypersons and monastic way of life and how RL has renunciation as its underlying principle at the end. Thank you. Okay, last question from the Netherlands.
Yes.
Patricia, in the Netherlands, it is normal to euthanize a pet which is old and sick because owner and vets don't want the pet to suffer. How about Buddhist countries?
Okay, euthanasia is still killing. There's no such thing as mercy killing, okay? It's killing. It's an easy way out, okay? Yeah, I know it's very painful. And it can be difficult when it's a human being and a human being say, please pull the plug, right? So it's quite difficult. Nobody wants to be the person who pulls the plug. Here we take care of that person, that being, that animal right to the end. You know, it's always a lesson to me to see how these animals die. You know, they know you love them and they come to you in the last moments. I remember those days, this cat, this dog will come to me and then it will just curl up and they would look at me. You should see the eyes that look at you when these beings die. And then they give that death throttle, that last sound of passing. and you feel, they've lived a good life, they're happy, and they look at you, and they die happy, right? And so that's what we should do when you're with your pets, your animals. They feel this sense of being human, and one of the signs that they look at you, they keep looking at you, they're always happy looking at you. And to me, it's like a meditation, a dasana, because of that vision of human being all the time, and that contributes to their being born as human or even devas. Their stories are even frogs being reborn as devas, in the lower deva world, because they were listening to the Buddha teaching and so on. So let them die happy. Euthanasia may not help them, but when they die happy, you are there taking care of them in the last minutes. You help them to die happy. That's the real meaning of euthanasia, because in Greek, eu means good, thanatos, death, the good death. That's the good death. Not putting them to death, but letting them die in their own time, happily, looking at you, and you are there, and they pass away. And they're reborn as human beings because they die peacefully, or better still, they're born as devas, and then they take care of you, they protect you. Okay. All right. I hope that's a happy note to end with. There is a recording they can watch. Share what you have learned to others so that they are happy like you.
Dr. Lee, you have anything to say? I just saw him raising up his hand.
Oh,
Dr. Lee.
Yes.
Dr. Lee, you got anything to?
Yeah.
I think you've talked a lot about spiritual communities.
Yes.
So instead of being virtual, when are you going to make a real spiritual community for the lay people, the lay Buddhists?
Yeah, I'm sure we can do that one day at the right time. We get a few of us get together, we'll see how. Yeah? Sure. Thanks for the note. We will keep that in mind. Sadhu. Okay. Yes.
And I have a request. Please turn on your video so that I can take your picture.
We're going to end now. So turn on your video so we can finish. I'm so happy you've been patient with me. It's been 2 hours and 15 minutes.
All right. Yung Sun has no camera. Okay, everybody, please smile. Dr. Lee, we can't see you clearly. Okay. And please. Isaac also.
Give a happy smile. The talk has ended.
Turn on the light if you can. Yeah, and some of you a bit the picture not clear. Okay. Look at the camera. Okay.
All is nice. All friends in the Dharma. Okay. Smile.
1, 2, 3. Smile. Okay. Thank you. All right. So we have our closing now.
Okay. Now we come to this moment when we close this wonderful gathering. Today we have spent extra time with the Dharma. We have done keep our precepts, recite the 3 refuges. We have done our meditation, and we have sacrificed a lot of time to listen to the Dharma. This is a wonderful moment. Remember this. May you be well. May you be happy. So this is a time to send your kind thoughts to yourself, to those loved ones, and to others. Above all, let us show our gratitude to the 3 jewels for bringing us together in wisdom and heading for happiness. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay.
Gratitude to Teacher Piya for today's wonderful teaching.
Oh, my admiration for you all for staying all right to the end.
Thank you very much.
Have a good weekend. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Sister Ratna. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Sister Ratna.
Share your wisdom to others.
Thank you.
Good news. Yes.
Sadhu, sadhu,
Thank you.
Sadhu.
Thank you, Brother Piya, Sister Ratna, and everyone.
Yes.
Thank you.
Happy to see you all friends.
Have a good weekend.
Sister Ratna.
Yes.
Have
Have
a
a
good
good
weekend.
weekend. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Remember our absent friends. Tell them they are remembered.